In this video, we will take a look at a tech tree that is full of passive scouts with low DPM, high penetration, great gun dispersions and insane camo values. Welcome to the Manticore tech tree. We are starting at the tier 5 Covenanter. On this tank you can choose from the multiple guns, but the best is probably the one with the clip that has 240 potential damage with low penetration, but even that it has a clip. It has the best DPM from the tier 5 light tanks with gigantic 14,000 potential damage. Covenanter has 55 max speed, which is pretty bad compared to other light tanks, with bad power to weight ratio and okay terrain resistance. Gun handling is pretty average as well, and while moving even worse. But Covenanter has insane gun depression and elevation. It means it is very flexible on all maps. Concealment is pretty average and view range as well. Covenanter is not a great scout, but has insane DPM on his tier with deadly clip. With full spotting setup, with optics, vents and exhausting mechanism, it can reach 444 meters of view range and 42% of concealment, which is still really broken on the tier 5. Next one is Crusader. It has pretty low 75 alpha damage with only 110 mm of penetration on a standard munition, but still has the best DPM on his tier and also has 130 shots with almost 10,000 potential damage. Gun handling is pretty good and it has a great 0.35 dispersion and also great 12 degrees of gun depression. Mobility is not the best. Crusader has 58 forward speed with really bad terrain resistance and also a bad power to weight ratio. But Crusader has better concealment with really solid view range. Crusader is tank with great DPM and low alpha damage and low penetration. It's not very mobile, but has a solid camo with good view range. With full spotting setup, you can reach 44% of concealment and 469 meters of view range. Next one is Setter, and oh guys, here comes the problem. As you can see, you are losing almost 800 DPM going up from the tier 6 to the tier 7. And that is the biggest weakness of this entire line from the tier 7. From the light tanks with the best DPM, you are dropping to the absolute bottom under the French autoloaders. So what about firepower? As you can see, it has by far the worst DPM, but also you got great penetration with not that bad alpha damage. You carry only 35 shots, so your potential damage is only 4,700 and tier 6 had almost 10k. Your gun handling is very good. Your aim time is only 1.7 seconds and dispersion 0.36, which is around average. Setter also has 10 degrees of gun depression, which is really welcomed. Your mobility is not great, as you can see, only 58 maximum forward speed, and you are also very light, so other tanks can easily ram you to the death. And your hull traverse speed is also horrible. Setter has 860 HP, which is pretty okay, and it has average concealment and average view range as well. With full spotting setup, you can reach 45% of concealment and 469 meters of view range. But as I said, it's nothing special. This tank lost all his DPM and get almost nothing for it. If, for example, we compare this tank with LTG, you can see that except penetration, aim time and gun depression, this tank is worse in all other main characteristics. This tank really feels like you are missing something. LHMTV. I was actually very surprised by this tank. This tank has also a horrible DPM, but also has great penetration and great alpha damage. For some reason, it carry only 25 shells, so your potential damage is only 5,700. LHMTV has pretty average gun handling. Aim time is little longer, but gun feels pretty accurate with 0.35 gun dispersion, but it gets much worse while moving. Also has great 10 degrees of gun depression, which is great. Top speed of this tank is only 63 km per hour, which is not the best. And hull traverse speed is also very annoying. But here comes the selling point. This tank has finally the best concealment on his tier, and it's able to outspot all Tech 3 tanks on the tier 8. With full spotting setup, you are able to has 46% of concealment. This tank is great scout, has accurate gun with awesome penetration, but also has a horrible DPM. This tank would be king of passive scouting on the tier 8. If ELC wouldn't exist. GSOR also lose a lot because of his horrible DPM, but penetration is great and alpha damage pretty average. It doesn't really help that you carry only 25 pieces of ammunition. GSOR aim time is great and dispersion as well. Gun depression and gun elevation are also insane, and this tank is very adaptive on the terrain and great long range sniper. Forward speed 65 km per hour is not the best. Be careful, this tank is very light as well, and tank traverse speed is also bad. 1250 health is a bit lower than other tier 9 light tanks, but concealment is again great, and with average view range, this tank has the best camo to view range ratio on the tier 9. With full spotting setup, you are able to get 47% of concealment and 473 meters of view range. I personally love this tank. You are by far the best scout on the tier 9, with great gun that has great penetration on standard munition, and only bad thing is again DPM. We are at the end of this tree. Manticore, the king of passive scouting. Manticore still has a really bad DPM, but also has the best penetration on the standard ammunition with great 390 alpha damage, but you carry only 20 pieces of ammunition, so your potential damage is only 7800 damage. And remember that tier 5 had 14k. Aim time feel little bit longer on the tier 10 light tank, and dispersion while moving isn't great at all, but fully aimed gun feels very accurate. 8 degrees of gun depression is very okay, but elevation on this tank is very annoying. Maximum speed of 68 km is average, and turret resistant is great, but tank traverse speed could be better. And again, avoid ramming any tanks. You are the lightest tank on the tier 10, but over 20% of base concealment is by far the best, and combine it with 400 meters makes this the best passive scout inside the game. With fully spotting setup, you can reach 50% of concealment and 486 meters of view range, and with bond equipment it can be pushed to 54% and 512 meters, which is absolutely great. Let me know in the comments. You can support me right here, and for more World of Tanks content, check out my YouTube channel. I am probably streaming right now.